Okay, well, hi, and good morning, everyone. Um, this is my Sunday morning sermon, as you all know, but I will really try to refrain from excessive use of the sixth ray, which I love. But okay, this is seventh ray day, so I'm going to do my best. My subject is, we good? Magic, rendering the unbelievable believable. Okay, so for the most part, I think that modern man is relatively blind and cannot see reality. So we begin with that happy, positive assertion. He however, bases his worldview on what he accepts as true, and therein lies both the danger and the opportunity. It's amazing, really, looking at this positively, it's amazing what the human being is ready to accept once it is shown to him as true. And the old mistaken beliefs can be set aside, and we're in an era when that's really going to be happening. So many of us lie somewhere between credulity and hope, and real knowledge is lacking. But this will be remedied. This is, after all, going to be an age of knowledge, and the fifth ray is extremely strong in this next 2,100, 2,200 and some 60 something years. Okay, 2,500. DK rounds it off because of the overlap. Yeah, please sit anywhere, even behind me. I will sense you. Okay. So, somewhere, we're gullible, we hope, but do we know? So knowing is the big thing. We can have the ability, however, to make wide ranges of the invisible manifest. There are so many ranges of the invisible, you can't make them manifest, but at least wide ranges we can, and thus change the prevailing world view. A belief in life after death is a practical example. And DK says in a couple of centuries, that's going to be commonly accepted as a fact, that there is survival of the physical body, and it will be etherically somehow photographed, and it will be seen, and maybe reincarnation comes later. So many people, I think, and even ourselves, we're rather sense-bound, and we have to see, as a metaphor for all the senses, we have to see in order to believe. We have to experience everything with our lower senses in order for us to think things are real. Now, I know we say that that's not true of us, but, if you look at a lot of your life, what's real and what's unreal. So, for some, anyway, the cultivation of the higher senses will rescue them from the slavery to their own lower instruments of revelation. The higher senses will rescue us, for some who are advanced enough, rescue us from the slavery of to the lower instruments of revelation. But for the majority of people who cannot yet do this, they will have their chance in a different way. They will have their chance because the magic of the age of Aquarius will make that age the age of actually seeing the hitherto unbelievable. So many things are going to come to light, they already are, and even the people who do not cultivate any of the inner senses, and there's so many of them, they will see. The photographs are here, so much that is invisible to the naked eye will be presented. So there are physical things, even now, 100 years ago, who would know? The tiniest molecules can now be seen by those instruments which extend our senses, and even atoms. I've seen pictures that purport to be of atoms, and even subatomic particles leave their trail, and then we have the vast galaxies, totally invisible to the naked eye before this time, the hitherto unseen, and they are now registered as factual, and families of galaxies, even mapping the entire universe. It was all, or so much of what we think is the entire universe, it was out of the question. And now it's accepted as factual, and it's just 100 years. So what can we do in 2,000 years? So much that is invisible will become visible, and therefore accepted as factual, and therefore accepted as believable. So it will be accepted matter-of-factly. So it's not a huge step, really, to make the ethers actually visible, and this is already happening in certain kinds of photography, and there's going to be communication with the dead via I don't know how they do that, but even now there's spirit photography of a certain kind, whatever they call a spirit, and there's kind of voices coming in on the telecommunication system. It's all coming together. The invisible will become visible, and the unbelievable accepted as a matter of fact. So humanity is ready, I think, to believe, that is, to accept the likelihood of what we used to call the supernatural as natural, with the discovery of new forces that we will somehow precipitate. So we're on the verge of that, and we know the seventh ray is going to have a tremendous effect on that. The psychics are coming in, and people for whom the invisible worlds are very tangible. All that's coming in. So we are becoming manipulators of actuality. Manipulators of actuality. I don't call it reality. I have a very special category there, because I do not believe reality per se can be manipulated. Actuality can be manipulated. Reality is whatever it is. It is forever and unchangeable, as I look at it. Anyway, so at this very time and space are the divine playthings of the masters, we're told, and they are becoming the same for intelligent man. The revelation of what time and space really are, as categories of consciousness, that's what we're actually led to believe they are, will be the result not only of the scientific research, but also of the magical process. So time and space will take a whole new meaning, and we have to consider them real. They're not real, but they are actualities in our consciousness. Great revelations do lie ahead, not immediately for most, but for some at least, amazing possibilities loom. I'd like to quote here what the Tibetan says about this. It's a very inspiring little paragraph from Rays and the Initiations. Then, later, comes that awful moment in time, in quotes he says, when pendant in space, he discovers that he is not the soul. What then is he? A point of dynamic will, focused in the soul, and arriving at awareness of being through the use of form. He is will, the ruler of time and the organizer in time of space. He is will, the ruler of time and the organizer in time of space. This he does, but ever with the reservation that time and space are the divine playthings and can be used or not at will. And some of you who have read the Castaneda books, the Don Juan books, you realize that for that tradition or that author, they were, under the seventh ray, divine playthings. But of course, law and group consciousness must accompany this manipulation of the presentations of time and space, or the lower ego. If they do not, the lower ego, the lower self-image, always mistaken, will be placed in the seat of the creator manipulator, and all will be distorted. There will be no true conformity to the divine plan. Ignorance will rule. When the lower ego is in charge, distortion, ignorance rules. So group consciousness and really real understanding of identity must be for the manipulators of time and space. Otherwise, what kind of manipulation are we going to get? It's going to be quite terrible, and it won't conform to the law and the plan. So this reminds me, at least, of the coming conflict between the purely mental magicians and those who are the white magicians, the magicians of the good law. So what good will all these powers do if the divine vision is not presented? And already one can see the growth of tremendous powers as the laws of physics, of which we are aware, are extended. And the hitherto unbelievable is already in process of manifesting. So we had been and still are in danger of discovering powers which we cannot possibly control. And this is why the ray cycle of the scientific fifth ray ashram had to be interrupted by Sanat Kumara. You know how long that cycle is, maybe, I don't know, some speculate 350 years. 1950 to 2000, it was phased out just because we're in danger of discovering too much given our moral state, our state of relation with each other. Another danger exists. Knowledge of these powers can fall into the hands of those who deliberately wish to direct them to destructive ends. And that's the Black Lodge, and we all know that DK says they're trying very hard to make sure that the plan as it is does not fall into the hands of the Black Lodge. Okay, So some people are just ignorant and do things stupidly, and others are waiting to deliberately interrupt the unfoldment of the divine plan. So the race is on, I say, to see whether the Aryan race will, in fact, be destroyed by fire. DK calls this imminent possibility, at least he calls it an attempt, and let us hope he is correct. There's ancient prophecy that the attempt will be made to destroy the Aryan race by fire. And when we look at this, we just think about, atomic energy in the hands of the crazy, okay? So this, we have to make sure this doesn't happen. But he says attempt, and that is a promising word, at least for me, because once before, in Atlantis, it was all destroyed by water, but this time I think we'll make it through without the vast destruction. So thus we come to understand the role of the second ray as the presenter of the vision in a seventh ray age, when control of matter form will be at its high point, at least in terms of our recent historical developments. The wisdom of the second ray, it really comes in handy. It is so needed, and that's where the white magicians will be. They'll be imbued with this kind of quality. So thus there is a demand for true, comprehensive, and a fundamentally wise vision of higher planetary intentions, which the second ray can confer. And so many of us are on the second ray, we really need this second ray to offset many things, as DK will tell us in just a moment. We read this fascinating thing about the school on Jupiter, or the school of Jupiter. Jupiter expressing a combination of the second and the seventh rays of wisdom and beneficent magic. And interestingly enough, this school is called the School of Beneficent Magicians. I love that name. I want to go there. Okay, so, well, you can get there, there's ways. Okay. We who are presenting the esoteric worldview are presenting before the world the unbelievable. Okay, we are simply not believed, not by rational, thinking, intelligent man. We're just not believed. We're a bunch of kooks. Okay. But the bridge, however, must be made to the intelligentsia, those who are actually, I will call them, believing manipulators of the world in time and space. The bridge must be made to them, to the believing manipulators of the world in time and space. And what good does it do for us to be believed by the unthinking and the gullible? I mean, they'll believe anything, They may well, superficially, believe the workers of the light, but then they'll turn around and superficially believe any workers in the world of phenomenalism. They'll believe anything. We cannot be them. We cannot be they, So they will be unreliable representatives of reality. We are looking for the intelligentsia, for reliable representatives of reality, and we have to bridge our worldview to them. It's very important we must meet the intelligentsia. So it's those who have a requisite degree of mentality. They are the ones who have to begin believing at first in the unbelievable. We have to show, we, types, have to show through transmutation, transformation, transfiguration of our own natures, that the unbelievable is actually, and I'll just use this word loosely, real. Or real enough to be recognized by others and acknowledged as possible. We have to demonstrate this within ourselves. Otherwise, we just all talk, and that's not enough. So we, as humanity, are so busy fighting each other in our emergence from the age of Pisces that the emergence of the unbelievable as believable, that is, rationally believable, is retarded. And in some ways, many things that could be are retarded. But in some ways, this could be a good thing. So the magical control of it, there's got to be a balance, okay? Not too much retardation and not too much premature exposure. The magical control of the three lower worlds is not desirable if premature. So many powers could be released, but in the words of Master M, they would cause a, quote, unacceptable fray. Okay, this is not a battle that is acceptable. He says, oh yes, we could release the word of death and everybody would go around trying to use it on each other. It would be an unacceptable fray. So watch out what you say. Okay, thus we can see why it is that one of the tasks of the Masters, strange as it may seem, is to prevent the premature understanding and acceptance of the plan, as well as to prevent the plan as it really is from falling into the hands of the counter force, the Black Lodge. So for us, a more modest approach is required. And it's the right approach for us. And it's just very modest, okay? We have to transform our lives so that we can set an example. Ooh, the hardest thing. Okay. Really, it's something we have all failed to do, I am sure, from time to time. Okay. So, but it is the seventh ray thing to do, to set an example. And the fourth of the four injunctions in a treatise on white magic, you know them, I'll read them, and if we could just follow them, we'd be good, okay? Inquire the way, that's the Master K.H. idea that he so popularized, just keep on asking yourself the questions and get the answers. Obey the inner impulses of the soul, because we often hesitate to do that. Pay no attention to any worldly consideration. A lot of us get hung up right there. Worldly considerations count a lot, okay? And then live a life which is an example to others. And the last one, probably the hardest, okay? Those are the four things which, if we follow them, we're really moving along towards adeptship and will be useful. The wonder workers are coming. Indeed, they are already here. You can already see them. But shall they be completely monastic, the monastic magicians, or shall the soul control? Now, he does talk about this. I have a very interesting paragraph. I think you'll think it's interesting. I've seen some amazing magicians. They're very popular now. They do strange things, and you just know that it's not all illusion. Something's going on there. I saw some unbelievable things happen. So like the master, they said, oh, it's real. Have you ever seen anyone walk on water recently? They've been doing that, and oh, gosh. Anyway, I love that stuff. Anyway, here comes, so here's Master DK talking about this. It's very interesting. The coming into incarnation of a number of old magicians and occultists, and the rapid growth, therefore, of recognized psychic powers among the people. This is coming out. This psychism, being tinged with mentality, and not being of a purely astral quality, will be even more dangerous than in Atlantean days. For back of it all will be some degree of will, conscious purpose, and intellectual apprehension, and unless this is paralleled by the growth of spiritual realization and by the steady grip of the ego, capital E, upon the lower personality, a period of real danger may ensue. Hence, the need of pointing out and of realizing the menace, so that the truth of the inner life and the need of serving the race as an essential to advancement may be proclaimed far and wide. He says a danger is coming, with the coming in of the seventh ray and the reappearance of the old, strictly monastic magicians. Okay, paralleling the incoming of this large band of seventh ray magicians, some linked to the Brotherhood and some to the purely monastic group, is the proposed advent of certain members of the hierarchy, initiates below the fourth initiation, okay, and of certain disciples and probationers, all on this ray, and all true psychics, a lot of seventh ray psychics, this is the point, who hope through their endeavors to offset the vibrations and ward off the menace incident to the advent of the other group. Seventh ray age. That's us. Okay. The arranging of this and the preparing of the way for them in the different countries, especially in Europe and in North America, is occupying the attention at this time of the Master R and the Master H. Okay, this is how it will be, and we're being trained to be white magicians. One of the purposes is not only to create the beautiful world, but to offset the menace of this other group. We are told that in the future, miracles, that is, doing the phenomenally unbelievable, making that actual, will be reserved for the inner groups and not for the masses. In the old days, miracles were for the masses, now they're for the inner group of students, says Master M. Changes which are miraculous enough are occurring rapidly for all to see. But the working of the visible miracles, at least of a certain order of visible miracles, will be reserved by the truly spiritual for their own company, lest wonder working and the love of phenomena take the place of true transmutation, transformation, and transfiguration. Oh my God, do you see what he did? Okay, no, that's for the instruction of the inner groups. All right. Phenomena appearances of the supersensory in the world of the senses are apparently miraculous, but not the most miraculous. I want to talk about what I consider to be the most miraculous. The most miraculous, in my view anyway, is something else. It is, in my view, non-phenomenal. In fact, the psychological captivation by phenomena, you see many people who are in that captivation, works against the realization of the most miraculous. So in my view, the most miraculous is the realization of the nature of being and our identification as being. The realization of the nature of being and our identification as being. I don't say with. With already has a polarity. As is identification. It is the discovery of an identification as our true identity and not the powers that are inherent in that being. These exist, of course, the powers exist. And they are indispensable in the fulfillment of the divine purpose and plan, but are incidental to the true mystery. You know, every time I think of my teacher, anyway, I had a teacher on the physical plane. He meant a lot to me, and he said, you know, he had 6 planets in Pisces and Leo rising, and a first-rate personality and a second-rate soul. And I realized, and he said, look, okay, astrology is great, but, you know, why attend the sideshow and miss the main event? So I think about, what was the main event? Well, this man taught me identification. That was the main event. And, you know, only now in my 70s, I'm understanding something. So I don't want to just have a lot of fun at the sideshow. Astrology is great and everything's great, but the main event is identification as being. That's the main event. So seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things shall be added unto you, including all the powers, and that's just so obvious, okay? So the most miraculous is at least indicated by the 6 trumpeted words which I trumpeted the other night on no key and no sense or whatever, but I love those words. And I would recommend that we all become as firmly anchored in these 6 realizations as may be possible. You know, God is, time is, unity is, space is, then God is again, and being cries forth and says, untranslatable, okay, death crumbles all, and so forth. Those trumpeted words give us the keys to the kingdom, at least the beginning of that, and the beginning of identification. So powers, and we know how I love to see the forms emerge, you know, created by my mind and do their work, fulfill the plan and disappear, says the 7th ray type. I love the powers, okay? And, you know, it's an extension of the 1st ray, the 7th ray is. Powers may help, okay? However, if rightly guided towards this realization that I'm talking about, and to the expression of the good, which results from this realization, then powers will help. Otherwise, they're a distraction. In Agni Yoga, Master M talks about how the Buddha's arhat says, oh, Master, let us do a miracle, you know, let us do a miracle. And, you know, I guess they were arhats or something. And he let them do a miracle, you know, much against his will. He didn't want that, but he said, okay, you're only going to learn one way, you do a miracle. And they upset the elements, and the ship was capsized at sea, and all kinds of bad things happened, and he said, okay, now you've made this mess, go bring help. You know, that miracle, the so-called miracle, upset the balance. That's what happened. All right, so, but should we expect miracles? Well, okay, yes, miracles from our present perspective, yes. The apparently, what I think the miracle we hope to expect, the apparently miraculous redemption of the lower levels of both the dense physical plane and the astral plane may well occur in the Aquarian age. And that's some of the cleaning of the Algean stables. That will look like a miracle to us, and it's a very desirable one. Maybe we'll have to wait for the age of Capricorn, really, for the mind of humanity to enter into that stage of redemption. I don't know. For some people, it will be during the Aquarian age. So even now, we are performing miracles compared to what we could do just a century ago. And what really are miracles? So many definitions, but I would say, are they not I would define them this way, the awesome disruptions of the presently held paradigm. The awesome disruptions of the presently held paradigm, which rearrange our thinking entirely, and then we have to allow that kind of thing in. So the working of miracles by which the unbelievable becomes believable depends upon, for us, transmutation, transformation, transfiguration, alignment, and it depends on the highest and lowest meeting. Well, it's never going to be that way. What it's going to be is ever higher points of tension will be meeting the lower spheres, and therefore bring through what is common to the higher spheres on the lower spheres, and we call it a miracle. So what are we to become in all this kind of thing? Because we'll be around for a while, you know. I don't know how many of you are having your last incarnation. I'd like to talk to you how you did it. Okay. All right. You know, have many people in class having their last incarnation. Well, okay. So what are we to become? I say, let us become, I want to say, miraculous man. Miraculous man, MM, whatever. Even as we consider the Christ and the Buddha miraculous examples of what the human being can become, because they represent the higher planes on the lower planes. They are miracles. They are walking, living miracles. Of course, all under natural law and supernatural law, but we consider miraculous. Okay, perhaps the greatest demonstration of their magic is their ability to make the invisible visible and the unbelievable believable, and it's their demonstration of such wisdom and such love that the magic of right human relations can manifest through them and set an example for all human beings to follow. Now that's not phenomenalism. That's not, oh, I see that, you know. Oh, you know, someone made ash with their fingers or something appeared here or there. That's not that. That's the real magic of manifesting the inner and higher states in the lower worlds. So we often think of believability and unbelievability in relation to the world of phenomena. There would be a big seventh-rate tendency to do that. But this simply represents a limitation in our thought and perception. It's interesting, yes, it's interesting, but it's not the main event, you know, it's not the main event. So it is the powers found on the higher mental plane and beyond in the world of spiritual triad, monad, powers and capacities not even revealed to us on the higher levels of Atma, you know, higher levels of Buddhi, two subplanes, higher levels of Atma, monadic plane, what's it all about? Those things are not revealed to us. But those are the true objectives of magic for people like ourselves, bringing heaven to earth when we define magic as bringing heaven to earth. That's what we want. And when we can truly demonstrate these powers in the example we set, now that's the hard part, right? When we can truly demonstrate these powers right here and now in our personality, in the example we set, just as the Christ, Buddha, and the other high initiates have done, it will be understood that what few believed man could do is in fact definitely doable. And then human beings, and this is important, will strive towards the accomplishment of the hitherto unbelievable. Because look, you know, we've got 21,000 years left of a six-ray cycle. Striving is still really important, and you get to the end of what Master Moria says, constantly says, apply fiery striving, always fiery striving. He's a great fiery being, and he says it's okay to strive, you know. So then we'll strive towards the unbelievable as if it is doable, and we need to do that. We are doing that, are we not? Nobody believes what we're doing, and we strive towards it, don't we? Okay. So then, embodiment through us of the unbelievable will set striving in motion for many others. They will strive. And, you know, I always tell myself when I think I can't do something, what man has done, man can do. What the human being has done, the human being can do. I tell myself that all the time. Even sometimes tell myself, what I have done, I can do. You know, it's early in the morning, I've got to talk to write, I've done it before, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I've done it before, so I'll do it. Okay. What the human being has done, the human being can do. It's the old saying, and can give us great confidence. So the purpose of the magic of manifesting the heavenly worlds is not only to change the shape of things below, to repattern the lower worlds, it's definitely that, and we've had wonderful examples of all these brilliant people talking about the changes that can happen. You know, it's so inspiring. But also to arouse such aspiration in the majority of intelligent human beings that they will seek to become as the ones who are able to manifest the heavenly worlds. You know, imitation of Christ. You know, Master M says, don't worship Christ. Imitate Christ. Don't worship, you know. Worship means, you're a God, I'm nothing, and I never hope to be like you, but please do something for me. No. No. Imitation is a different game altogether. Thomas à Kempis, and he said a great clarion call from the monastery, imitation of Christ. Okay, so this reduction of the unbelievable to the realm of believability is meant to provide entirely new incentives to human aspiration so that the hitherto conceivable becomes much higher than heretofore. And we, higher possibilities all the time. So the promise of this is sounded in the old commentary. You're familiar with this section. It's very beautiful. I'll read it for you. The sons of men who are now the sons of God withdraw their faces from the shining light and radiate that light upon the sons of men who know not yet they are the sons of God. Then shall the coming one appear, his footsteps hastened through the valley of the shadow by the one of awful power, who stands upon the mountaintop, breathing out love eternal, light supernal, and peaceful silent will. Then will the sons of men respond. Then will a newer light shine forth into the dismal, weary vale of earth. Then will new life course through the veins of men, and then will their vision compass all the ways of what may be. So peace will come again on earth, but a peace unlike aught known before. Then will the will to good flower forth as understanding, and understanding blossom as goodwill in men. Well, it's so inspiring, and it is the promise of what will be. This will be. For the highest and the lowest to meet, there must be a reconceptualizing of that which is highest. Right now, it's too low. And the estimation of what the human being can do is too low. And the conception of what heaven is too low, far too low. There are so many heavens. And the one commonly conceived, though both necessary and apparently quite beautiful, can't remember the last time, is relatively weak in its reality quotient. Heaven on the fourth plane of the subplane of the mental plane, David Chan so-called, it's not reality. He says it's the most beautiful illusion. Are you ready to give that up? Come on, you probably have a choice. You probably have a choice after death, whether you want to reincarnate rapidly or spend some happy time in Devachan. Anyway, the higher worlds are heavenly worlds, and human beings must have a conception of what they really are before they will be ignited in a tremendous aspiration to reach those worlds and bring them back to earth. So the sixth ray and the seventh ray are together. Can you believe it? I'm ahead of time. I've got 15 minutes and 1 page to go. All right. Wow. Miracles can happen and changes can occur, Yeah, I'll tell you, Now I'm going to read very slowly. Okay, in closing, I would like to say that all of us have eventually to become embodiments of the hitherto unbelievable. All of us have eventually become embodiments of the hitherto unbelievable, just as Christ, the Buddha, and the Masters are now. Through our very selves, we have to render the unbelievable believable. The inspiration to others comes not from what we say we are, but from what we actually are and what we demonstrate. Again, this example. I would suggest that in the coming years, we strive to make actual in and through our, I always call it our not self, but in through ourselves, because now I'm educated. My son-in-law taught me I have a body. Okay, good. So, in and of ourselves, what others may note as unbelievable in our nature. Look how you've changed. It's just unbelievable. What's happened to you? Okay, let it be so, let it be so. If we succeed in this, the people for whom we set an example, will want to be as we are, even as we wish to be as the great ones are. We will set this, uplifting example, and they will strive, just as we strive to be as the great ones are. So if we succeed in bringing heaven to earth in our own little microcosmic lives, we shall inspire others to do the same. Now I want to say something important, and it's almost my last thing to say. What we claim counts for nothing. What we say counts for something. What we do counts for much. And what we are counts for everything. and may divinity become believable through us. Amen.